What's up, everybody? Welcome to Keep It Literature. My name is Jude, and I will be your host today. And I got a confession to make. See, on my Instagram, I said a little, but I didn't know if this book would be right for me. The book I'm talking about is called Demon Copperhead, and it's by Barbara Kingsolver. I think that's correct. ADHD brain, but it's a retelling of David Copperfield by what's his name? Don't tell me. What's his name? He wrote Oliver Twist, Tale of Two Cities. Fuck. What was his name? Gosh damn it. Charles Dickens. And Charles Dickens, when he wrote that story, I think it was set in the 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. And what Barbara did is she really modernized it and set it in Appalachian, West Virginia. And it follows the story of Demon Copperhead, who grows up in this small town, and you get to see him interact with all these different characters, small town life, and you see them progress through the years, and as well as you progressing with Damon. It was a rough start. I just felt like it was long-winded at first, but after the initial part, I just got kind of swept into it, and I just couldn't stop reading it. It's relatable. I too grew up in a small town at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. For the way that the community is described, it's almost to a T. It definitely hits it on the nose. So it follows Damon as he's growing up, and you get to see him interacting with his addict mother. You get to see him interacting with friends as they grow up through the years. You get to see him go through love lost, and you really get to grow with him. You get to see the good times, and you get to see the bad times, and I think that those ups and downs is definitely what made the story compelling. You have a lot of scenarios to which you think like, oh, well, this is what I would do. This is what I think I would make better of the situation, but you're not him. It's just interesting to follow him on this journey because you genuinely worry about him. You worry what's going to happen to him. Even though I've read David Copperfield before, honestly, I was so engrossed in the story that I forgot the plot points. Honestly, and everything just felt fresh. Everything felt new, and it was just a genuinely good story to read. That being said, there is a lot of long-windedness in it. I say that because I do have ADHD, and sometimes, even with like one of my favorite writers, like Stephen King, he can go a little long-winded, and I think that's kind of what happened in this. And I feel like they could explore the side characters a little more, but being first person perspective, what can you do? But the characters in this book are very interesting, from friends of the family to the teachers to the guidance counselors. This is all relatable to me because I grew up in a similar situation. I'm spawned from a family of addicts. I grew up in a small town where most people just kind of resort to drugs, and that's essentially what's happening in this story. It's set in this town in the 80s and 90s with the opioid epidemic, where people was just super happy handing out. The doctors were super enthusiastic about handing over very addictive drugs.
Sure, I've taken pills.
And it shows the toll that it took on community, the toll it takes on individual lives, and it does this all through the eyes of the main character. And one of the things that I really enjoyed is the hope spots in the book. There's a lot of times where you feel like, oh, this is rock bottom, what's going to happen? And there's a glimmer of hope, and then another moment comes by, and it's not like back to back. It doesn't have you like, on the roller coaster ride, bottom up, bottom up, bottom up, bottom up. It's a very gradual ride, and you come to care for these characters. I don't really want to spoil too much because it's just one of those books that is better experienced. But you find, the innocence lost from childhood growing up is just, it can be so overwhelming because you really grow attached to them in the childhood years. And that's what I grew to appreciate toward later in the book is like, oh, well, I wouldn't feel this way if I didn't read the childhood years. So I'm glad that I experienced it, even though it was a little slow start for me. I think it was necessary to the story. And, they're the author. They know what they're doing. I should have just shut the fuck up. I was totally wrong, and I'll admit that. But, oh my gosh. If you're on the fence about this book, it's something that you would really enjoy if you like books like The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. Very memoir-esque, even though it's a fiction, it feels very memoir-esque. And it's just so satisfying when you get to the last page. It's one of those books that just really keep you thinking afterwards. It really had me reminiscing on the past, and it had me think deeply. I think if you ever are prejudiced against people with addictions, maybe recommend this book to someone that's prejudiced against addicts, because this really gives a very, very clear insight into how things can snowball, how things pile up. But that's without saying any spoilers. This is it's a good book. If I had any points of criticism, I forgot them. There is a fair amount of action in the book towards the end, but this is not one of those actiony books. It's one of those slow burn kind of emotional books. But that being said, don't let that refrain you from actually picking this book up, because it's the plot is compelling. Like the delivery of it, you get chunks and pieces of his life, and like I said before, you just grow to care about these characters. It makes me really want to reread David Copperfield just so I can have that little comparison. But overall, I'm super glad that I actually picked this book up. I rented it from the library onto my Kindle device, and it was over within 2 days. So, not a bad read at all. If you can get past that initial hump like I did. That being said, to rate the book, I got to give it a good old probably 9 out of 10 hot dogs. Good stuff. I was excited for it. I would really love to see this adapted into some sort of maybe like screenplay, or maybe a type of show, movie, something. It's a good story, and the way that Kingsolver delivered it really delivered the David Copperfield story to a modern audience, especially with the setting. It's so fleshed out. It's so beautiful. The way that you feel like you're in that small town. Maybe it's just me because I grew up in a similar situation, but you honestly feel like you're there. You feel like you know these people. Kingsolver is great with character work, and this book, like the overlying themes of it, is just the corporate oppression, and how pharmaceutical companies really did not give two flying shits about the public that they were harming. But it also shows themes of persevering through it all, the strength of the individual, and that's what really drew me in. It really drew me in. It just it's a good book, and I can't recommend it anymore. So yeah, this is a great book. If you're tuning in, thank you. Sorry I haven't posted recently. If you wanna learn about that, you can continue listening. But I've been a little bit depressed. So I read this book like 2 months ago, and it's really hard to recall some specifics for it, but I just, after I read it, I was just in a depressive slump, and I couldn't bring myself out of it. And I kept telling myself, oh, you need to post, you need to post, you need to post. There's people that really want to watch. I mean, even if there's not people that really want to watch, you gotta post because you like posting. You like making these little videos, and you like this. Why aren't you doing the things you love? And that's just because depression kind of took a toll on me. But I'm working through it. I'm in therapy, on medication, and so, you know, hopefully these will get rolled out on a more regular basis. I'm trying to stay focused and deliver more content because that's just what I want to do. That's honestly the way I work through depression, honestly, is through a creative outlet. Like when I'm depressed, I can read, I can play games and stuff, but that doesn't really help me. It just kind of numbs me and soothes me through. What really helps me is that creative energy that I put out. I feel like everything negative inside me comes out when turns into positive when I'm creative, and whether that's making videos, whether that's making art, whether that's writing, I think creativity is definitely the outlet for me, and it's just hard to get the ball rolling, especially if you're ADHD like me, and it's really hard to focus on tasks. As you can see, I'm unmedicated in this video, and I've kind of been bouncing back and forth. But being ADHD and being creative, and it's this constant clashing deal where like you're constantly coming up with new ideas, but it's so physically hard to start them and actually follow through without losing focus. And you know, then you get depressed, and when you get depressed, it's hard to start things because you're losing focus. But you know, to get rid of being depressed, you need to start things and be creative. So it's like this gigantic little time loop where, you know, I'm just like turning in circles until I fall over with like little spirals in my eyes and stuff. But you know, this is the first step. I know this video isn't as professional as I normally do them, but that's kind of what's been going on with the channel, and I'm hoping to post a lot more individual videos. So yeah, if you like the book I was just talking about, you know the name. What's the name? You know the name. Come on, everybody knows the name of this book, Demon Copperhead. Yeah, that's it. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments, and if you stuck around and want to see me do some more stuff, drop a follow, like, subscribe, whatever's going on in the YouTube world or wherever this is posted. I'd like to see your thoughts on the book though, and if you have any that's similar, recommend them. Or if you want to see me just read a book that you really like, recommend it, because I am a variety reader. I like to read a lot of things. I'm a big brain reader. I like to read everything. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and don't forget, keep it lit, y'all.